Welcome back to the Bears Cave. My name is Tom. That is Sam. It has been
You know,
many months, many moons since we've last recorded, but we've got a lot to talk about. Um, Bears finished off the season very strong, and a lot of off-season talk. So,
oh yeah,
yeah, we got coaching, free agency, and the draft especially. So we got a lot to talk about today. Thank you all for joining us today. Sam, say a few words to
yeah.
the.
It was really fun doing the podcast. Definitely gonna continue it. When the Bears start playing in the fall, gonna do those review games. Not as much to talk about in the off season, um, but this one we got a lot of good stuff to cover. Feeling very optimistic, which is I know everyone says that every year, but there's a lot of good things going forward. And I cannot wait to see what this team is going to be like come the fall.
Three-time off-season
Oh yeah.
champions. Never lose.
Right? We are constant off-season champions. Though I will say, I've been someone. So for the past few years, especially, it's been a ton of off-season hype. I haven't really bought into it. Last year I knew we were disappointing. I thought we were going to be more in that like 7-8 win range.
Hmm.
A lot of people were thinking playoffs. So it was more disappointing than I thought it would be.
I'm pretty sure
But
you
I
bet
haven't
on
been
the
someone
Bears making
to.
the playoffs.
I bet on them over 7 wins. Oh, I know I did bet on them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
I bet on the Jets to make the playoffs too.
I know,
So
I
what a
know.
game.
That was even worse.
You have some good ones, have some bad ones. Bet on the Broncos to do good, and they paid off. But
Yeah,
the Bears and the Jets, whew. Um, but if we want to talk sports best, I do want to get this in. I had a
yeah.
bet on a bunch of receivers to get 750 yards. Rome Odunze was the only one who didn't get it. He finished with 736,
Rome. Damn.
but he's still going to be a goat. He's
He's still
still going to be
yeah.
great. He's going to get 7,000 yards this season, right?
Absolutely.
But I was saying about how I wasn't super bought in last year or the year before, especially. Ugh. Um, People were super excited, but this year I think it's actually coming together in a significant way. I think our expectations should be a little higher. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be all perfect. There's going to be some weird, ugly things that happen like they always do. But I think this is the first time I feel like our window's really open to be a good team in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, like last year, um, frankly, like we did not have the infrastructure to be a playoff or a deep playoff team. Regardless, we got
Right.
Caleb Williams, who kind of in spite of all that, we thought would just like kind of cruise to a really easy rookie season and just kind of turn everything around by himself. Um, and I still think he's going to be able to turn around this
Right.
franchise, but that's you can't play football by yourself. And I'm not
Exactly.
saying he's blameless. I mean, he has a lot to fix over this season, over this off season into the next season. But I still think his rookie season was promising. I thought he showed a lot of growth, and
Yep.
yeah, now
I mean,
he
I
has.
also want to say this. We have a ton of. There's been a lot of really good rookie quarterbacks lately, and I feel like that skews our perception of what a good rookie season is. Because I do think that Caleb had a good rookie season. Obviously, he wasn't Jaden Daniels, he wasn't C.J. Stroud or any of these guys, but he's still on that up and up trajectory.
Mhm,
A lot of the best quarterbacks in the league were not good their rookie season.
yeah,
Josh Allen looked like a bust. Joe Burrow was hurt and wasn't winning. Um, you know, those guys, you can start at a moderate pace and build up, but I feel like people expect results now, especially Bears fans who haven't, excuse me, had a great quarterback, ever. They expect results now. Like if you're not great now, you're never going to be great, and that's just not true. I mean, look at Jared Goff, look at Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, all those guys. Again, like Josh Allen was a bust his rookie year. He was not good, and Caleb was quite good. He was like a middle of the road quarterback, and for a rookie, that's great because he's only going to get better. We know he's someone who's going to work hard. and I'm really excited to see what he can put together. But let's dive right into the moves the Bears made in the offseason if you want to start.
Yes. Starting with someone I was so hyped about, and I'm still so hyped about, getting Ben Johnson to the Bears. I think that was insane. I'm so happy we got him. There were points where I was like getting shaky on it because for some reason everyone in the media was like, Ben Johnson hates the Bears. He'll never go there. And they said it enough where I'm like, maybe this is true, but no, it was always going to be the Bears. Um,
Right.
and Ben Johnson's a big Cubs fan too. I don't know if you've seen that. He threw out the
Yep.
first pitch at Wrigley Field the other day. I was there for that. That was awesome.
Oh,
Um,
that's sweet.
yeah, so Ben Johnson's already embracing the city, and I think he's gonna do a really good job offensively. I have no doubt about that. Defensively, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I think though I think Dennis Allen is an incredible defensive coordinator. He was the number one a guy I wanted for the job, and we got that too. Um,
Yep. Yeah, I think that this is an A plus hire. I mean, obviously the coaching cycle ended a while ago, and it's kind of old news, but
yeah,
I think this is truly like the changing point for the Bears. You know, we've had offensive coaches in the past, Matt Nagy and Mark Trestman. They did not work out. So I'm really hoping that Ben Johnson will work out. But even if the defense or whatever is a problem, man, the success he had in Detroit, and we didn't know that was not Dan Campbell's offense, right? Dan Campbell, great coach. That was Ben Johnson's offense, and it was unstoppable at times. And I know he can. I really hope he can replicate it. And he he made Jared Goff look better than Sean McVay did. You know, Jared Goff was decent with Sean McVay, who's another offensive genius. But then he has Ben Johnson, and it's like he's even better. You know, there's MVP talks for Jared Goff, and Caleb can do a lot of things Jared Goff can't. So I'm
absolutely.
excited to see what he'll be able to bring out because the offense he had in Detroit is not what he's probably going to run with the Bears just because we have mainly a different quarterback, right? And other different skill players, right? DJ Moore isn't Amon Ra. We don't have a true speedster like Jameson Williams or whatever. So how he's going to use our great players, I'm very excited to see. I will say I'm a bit worried about the defense in general, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Dennis Allen is going to be a good coordinator. He's proved to be a good coordinator, bad head coach. That's how a lot of these defensive coordinators are.
Yeah,
You know, we just lived through it, right?
no.
Great defensive coordinator, bad head coach. That's who you want.
Hmm.
So hopefully he can be good. Um, but I won't be mad this year. If we lose games 35-31, that's okay,
Yeah,
right? That's going to happen. And if we lose games like that, that's okay because the main thing I want Ben Johnson to do is make Caleb great, and he's shown he can pull that greatness out of quarterbacks who have struggled in the past. So I really hope he can do that. Um, but obviously, he was the best coach on the market, the most sought after coach. The fact that he chose the Bears, is a testament to our improvement because I feel in the past the Bears have not been able to get the best head coaches.
hmm
Um, well, yeah, we know that.
yeah,
Um, whether they choose them or they just say no to us and go to a different organization. The fact that we can get the clear number one head coach on the market, that's a testament to our improvement. And Ryan Poles
yeah,
has done a great job.
yeah. I mean,
You're gonna
like you were saying, if we lose games because of defense, I'm gonna be fine with that. Like, dude, look at the
right.
Bengals last year. The Bengals were the most fun team to watch, bar none, in the regular season, and they didn't even make the playoffs. I mean, they're if we're in that kind of like Bengals area, I will not be mad. I'm not saying
Right.
I'm not saying Caleb Williams is one season away from reaching Joe Burrow. I think he'll.
Mhm.
I do think he has the potential to get there, but I don't think
Absolutely. I mean,
he's gonna get there this season. I think Joe Burrow's incredible. Um,
right.
but I mean, I think we have an offense that could kind of compete, go bar for band with
Right.
the Bengals. So
I do
I'm
think that's a
excited.
great point because I would say if we have a season that is very similar to the Bengals last year, I will consider that a success.
Yeah.
I would consider that a success. If we get 8 wins and we lose a lot of shootouts and we don't have the maturity or the experience or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and we lose a lot of shootouts, but Caleb throws for 4,500 yards, the offense is electric. You know what? I'm going to be happy. I would be happier with that than I would be if we fumble our way into the playoffs by winning a bunch of games 13-10 and then get stomped by the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
I would be happier if we had the Bengals season than if we had the Packers season last year.
Yeah. And something that we can kind of use to transition is that right now the Bears are not playing for they're not building for a 2025 Super Bowl or 2020 25 26 Super Bowl.
Right.
Now, not saying it's impossible, but they're building for sustained success. They're not signing like Keenan Allen to a 1 year deal. Not I think Keenan Allen's great,
Right.
but a lot of our signings have are long-term signings, and whether they'll pan out long-term, not sure, but we're clearly building towards like playoff win after playoff appearance after
Right.
playoff appearance, not like betting everything on one season. So, um, as
Exactly.
long as we
And
can
I
see growth and like even if we do miss the playoffs, it's not necessarily going to be a bad thing. Although it could very well be a bad thing.
right, because I think the peak years of any team is always going to be like the kind of third, fourth year of the rookie quarterback
Sure.
deal because when the quarterback is still cheap and he's also fully evolved. Like because I think when you get to year three, four as a quarterback, that's when you fully understand defenses and how everything works. Second year, there's still a lot of growth to be had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would I would agree with you. I don't think we're building to go all in this year. I think we're building to go all in the next 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also like the sustained success. We have these guys who we're going to hopefully have long term at a lot of key positions
Yeah.
that kind of require it. Especially, I think the connection between Caleb and Rome, it kind of has to be special. You know, I think if they don't get along, like, because that has the potential to be like, Brady Gronk
Yeah.
or Montana to Rice. Like, it really has that because they started at the same time. Rome showed a ton of potential last year. I think he's going to have to take the mantle from DJ Moore at some point. That's not this year, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that's one of the guys I'm looking at for key growth. If do we want to like go into like our key growth guys before we hit draft and free agency? Just a few guys we think
Sure.
will kind of we're looking at this year.
Sure. Let's not include any of the draft picks or free
Yeah,
agent
anything.
picks,
Right.
of course. But I mean, yeah, Roman Dunze, obviously. I mean,
I think that's
he did like he was. Oh,
right. Oop.
I think he cut out a little bit, but
Yeah, yeah. A
I
little bit of
think the number one thing that Rome did last year, which is kind of a big reason why we drafted him, is he was really good contested catching. And I
right.
think that's he's shown that he can use that skill in the NFL. I think he's just got to keep up with the routes, get more
Right.
open, connect with Caleb more, and I think it's going to be a
Yeah, I
breakout
think their
season.
connection's good. I always say that I never want to draft a receiver whose best skill is contested catch because that means they couldn't get open in college.
Mm,
So like you're not going to get open in the NFL either, clearly. But Rome kind of bucked that. I thought his route running was really good last year. I would really look for also on broken plays. It seemed like Caleb would look for Rome a lot, even though he's not the number one receiver. And I think that shows that their connection is going really good. Another, I would say, player kind of group of players. I think that I really want to see some development from and become really important is our defensive backs. Obviously, we know Jalen Johnson, he's that guy.
yeah,
Not everyone's that guy. Jalen Johnson is that guy. One of my probably my favorite player on the team,
yeah,
especially through the dark years. But Brisker, Kyler Gordon, and Tyreek Stevenson, those are all guys who have had ups and downs, injuries, bad plays, very streaky players. Especially the injuries to those guys really killed our defense last year.
yeah. It was rough.
But if those guys can continue their ascent, I think that'll make a ton of difference. Um, because they've all proven and made splash plays. Gordon especially, Kyler Gordon, he's awesome.
And we
He's
got that
super exciting
extension
to
on
watch.
him. That's all. It's a
That's
huge
great.
deal.
And if we have our defensive backfield like solidified, chemistry is a big deal in that kind of group. So that's a good one. And then yeah, those are the players I'm looking for growth from last year because we struggled a lot in that when I didn't think we would.
Yeah,
Um, to the corners, the safeties, those guys need to step up. Obviously, you can't control injuries,
sure.
but if they're on the field and producing, that's going to really help our defense, which is going to be probably the bigger point of contention this year.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you brought up this conversation, I knew your guy you were thinking of was Tyreek Stevenson. I think
Right,
he had a very poor season last year. I think
right.
his best game all season though was against Green Bay. Like no
Mhm.
doubt about it. Like he had an awesome game against them,
Oh yeah.
which is very promising for the future. I think one guy who I really was disappointed by this season was um, Karana Magaji, our third round
Mhm.
offensive tackle, who I mean, when we picked him, we knew it was going to be a project pick, but yeah, he just had a really bad season, and I feel like this has got to be the season where he shows like, yeah, I
Growth,
deserve to be on
development.
this team. Like, I mean,
Right,
um, after 2 years, if you're not showing like some serious like, at least potential, like that's not good, um, especially for a third round pick. So,
right.
um,
You want those guys to be producing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point. That's someone I would love to see growth out of him. Would love to see him, really producing because linemen are going to get hurt.
yeah,
You're not going to start the same guys the whole time. You need those backups to be capable, or Ben Johnson has proved he's going to use wacky packages.
yeah,
So maybe they find a weird use for him, and if he can step up and be great, that makes a big help to our defense
sure,
or our offense. Excuse me. Ugh.
bless you.
All right, thank
But yeah,
you.
I think it's time to go
These-
into free agency and how we did on them.
Yes.
All right.
Uh, this was an amazing free
Oh
agency. I
yeah.
think it showed a great amount of planning ahead. I think we had an offseason plan that we executed between free agency and the draft, and I think we attracted good free agents and we spent money wisely. We
Mhm.
didn't pay for names. The only because when I look at our list of who we got, I mean, obviously Joe Tooney is a pretty big name. Grady
Huge name.
Jarrett's a pretty big name, but
Yes.
those aren't guys who are like just flashy hype signing picks,
No.
which is something the Bears I think have fallen into a lot in the past, where we signed these washed up players who are never going to be good with us, and but they'll sell jerseys and whatnot, and people will get excited and buy tickets. I think we've done that quite a bit in the past.
Are you referring to
Um,
anyone in particular on the 2024 team?
mm,
We don't have to talk about
no, we don't have
that.
to get into it. We don't have to get into it. We're looking forward,
Yeah, yeah,
positivity, good vibes. But I think it was great planning. I like that we obviously targeted the offensive line. That was the number one need. It was bad last year, and I would imagine that Ben Johnson had a pretty big hand in picking out the guys that he wants.
yeah.
And I think it's a lot smarter to build an offensive line through free agency than the draft
Mhm.
because it's difficult for these young guys to come in and start right away. So I like that planning, and I think that's a sign of a smart organization.
Yeah,
Those I think the linemen are the biggest signings out of everyone.
yeah. I mean, in
Dahlman,
particular, like
Judy,
we found the biggest hole, which was obviously the interior offensive
right?
line, which was horrible last year. I mean, one of the worst in the entire league.
Yeah,
Arguably, like there could be an argument for the worst in the entire league. Um,
yeah, because I think our tackles are good.
yeah.
I think we
Um,
have good tackles. Darnell Wright, obviously the high draft pick, has
mhm.
been not amazing, but he's been serviceable.
I'd say he's been amazing. I think he's
I
been really
damn
good.
near right.
I
He's been
mean,
very good.
yeah,
He's gonna. I mean, obviously you don't notice when the right tackle is making a great play, but they don't call his name a lot,
yeah.
and that's all I want.
I mean, listen, the best offensive tackles or the best like offensive linemen are the ones like you don't have to notice like the ones that just like you know do their job. You're not going to see them because they're just not letting the quarterback get
Right,
hit. Um,
right. They're not
last
known
year,
as number for holding.
yeah, last year I saw a lot of like Coleman Shelton because he was letting the quarterback get hit.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, Drew Dahlman, the center signing, he was the number one free agent I wanted us to get, and we got him.
Yep,
Finally, a good center, and we got a long deal on him. I think that was an amazing move, A+ move. Um, him
I
and
agree.
Joe Thuney
Investing in our
were
future,
the A+ moves.
right? That's going to give Caleb the time he needs to develop. I think he had a lot of bad habits last year because of the offensive line. A lot of those sacks fell on Caleb,
Hmm.
but I think it's because he felt like he had to escape, play hero ball, a lot of pressure. So I think it's going to help him develop better.
Yeah.
Obviously, huge signings. I also think Grady Jarrett hopefully can still be an impact player.
Oh yeah. I think Grady Jarrett is also a really good signing. I liked that. Um, I also his personality is just awesome. Just like watching his interviews with the Bears, like once
Right.
we got him, it was just he's an awesome guy. He's got a very violent mentality, which I like.
There we go. Yep. And he's going to bring leadership. We have a lot of young players on the defensive line who they've kind of been ascending up. And if they keep ascending, it'll be really good. But if they don't, it could be a real problem. So hopefully his leadership and his experience, he has a lot of wisdom to share with them, and they can develop. I think that's again a great signing. Will he be as productive as he was, in his earlier years as in Atlanta? I don't think he has to be. I think he just has to be a good player. He has to bring leadership, stop the run. He doesn't have to be some amazing pass rusher, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
To also have a real veteran on the defense that we've sort of lacked in the recent years.
yeah. Um, a little bit of an aside here. Um, dude, I just kind of realized this. How stacked are our defensive tackles? We got Grady
Right.
Jarrett, Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter. We got Shamar Turner now. Um, I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some guys, but I mean that's a good group. That's
Right.
a good group of
Um,
guys.
should hopefully be pretty good when you get a lot of rotations. You can swap them in. You have a lot of good guys. You can keep them fresh.
Hmm.
The offensive linemen don't come out of the game,
Yeah,
but the defensive linemen, you can put, your pass rushing specialists in on third down, that kind of stuff. Keep a
hmm.
lot of guys fresh. Having a lot of good defensive linemen can be very effective. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit is Olamide Zaccheaus, solid receiver. Um,
I heard he was really good at pass block or pass blocking. Yeah, or
yeah,
run block and
um,
pass block.
I think it's important to have a decent wide receiver three at least because we don't want to be in a situation where DJ Moore has missed games every year he's been with the Bears. Hasn't been a ton. He hasn't had a season-ending injury, but he's been out a few games, right? Every year. So that's something we should probably expect. If our only receiving threat is Roma Dunze in those spots, it's going to be really tough. So I think that's a good signing. But that brings us to I think the draft is we should start talking about these guys.
Sure. Yeah. One other thing I just want to talk about, who we didn't mention is Dio Dengbo, the
There
defensive
you go.
edge. Um, I thought that was a good signing. I was surprised by it. But I mean, I think kind of thinking more about it and kind of um, hearing about why we signed him,
Mhm.
I thought it was a pretty good signing overall. I mean, and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like I'm a guy. I'm 90% of the games I watch, or not 90, but like 80% of the football games I watch are from college teams I like or the Bears. So
Right.
I'm not gonna know a whole lot about every single player and why they're right for us. I'll trust that to our coaches, but I do think,
Right.
we got a good defensive edge. We got a completely revamped interior offensive line who um, was necessary, and
Right.
yeah, we got some wide receiver depth, and Ben Johnson. I think like having wide receiver depth that's gonna be helpful because I know he'll
Yeah.
he'll be able to think of something for every one of those guys. But
There you go.
yeah, I think now is time to get to the meat of this episode, which is the 2025 NFL Draft.
Yep. Very exciting.
And
Uh,
for context, me and Sam have not spoken about our opinions on any of these
Not
draft
yet
picks
at
so
all.
far, so you will be able to hear our discussions and thoughts on them for the first time as we hear each other's.
Yep.
All
You
right.
want to go first?
Um, sure. With the 10th overall pick, the Chicago Bears select from Michigan, tight end Colston Loveland. Sam, what are your thoughts overall on this pick?
I was floored by this pick.
Yeah.
I was totally surprised because we have a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tight end who's good, productive, has been, trending upwards. There you go. And I think he's still going to be heavily involved in our offense. This is not like, oh, Cole Kmet, you're traded or whatever, you're
Mm-hmm.
backup. So I was really expecting us to go either, I don't even know. I was thinking we would probably go defense. Was my gut feeling on what we would do if we didn't
Mm-hmm.
get, one of the blue chip prospects to fall or like do something weird. I hadn't been too involved in the draft, but I knew who Colson Loveland was before. I really didn't think we would go tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very confusing at first, but I am very excited about the prospect of him being an absolute threat. And to me, it screams that Ben Johnson saw his tape and said, I know exactly how this guy will work with my offense. He is a piece I will use great. Obviously, Sam Laporta with the Lions was exceptional. I think this could be like a replica of that. Obviously, that's very high expectations. Sam Laporta had an amazing rookie season, but I feel like that could be where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and like I heard, I mean Ben Johnson like said like has given like a lot of comparisons to Laporta already with this Loveland. So yeah, I mean I think you're spot on with that. That um, he is kind of seeing like um, the Loveland to be kind of that Laporta type role.
right.
Um,
I
I
think we'll
feel like
probably use a lot
what's
of two tight ends, right? I don't think this is Cole Kmet's not going to be playing or whatever. I think we're going to use them both in different ways.
mhm. Yeah, I think what's almost as important as this pick is kind of the context surrounding this pick, which is just frankly the 9 picks that went before us were about as horrible as possible for us. I mean, even who Tatiro uh, Tyro McMillan. Um, I mean, he like we could have picked him. I don't think he would have been bad, but like we could have certainly been able to probably um, trade down a bit. I think
Right.
some team would have like been really wanting a wide receiver and wanted to trade up, but um, I think not. I was so dead set on Genti, and it's still gonna hurt. And I
I
know he's
was
gonna be
too.
a stud, but I mean, I guess once his rookie contract expires, we'll take a slash at him. Um,
Right. I really wanted Genti too, but probably it would have been too much to give up to trade up. Feels like the Raiders were really dead set on him. Pete Carroll, of course, is going to want his old school running back.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, the thing that fucked us is the Jaguars trading up for Travis Hunter. We there were a lot of talks about a trade between the Jags and the Bears that just didn't go through, and I feel like a big part of that is they really wanted Travis Hunter, who I'm pretty low on. I'm very low on Travis Hunter. I may eat my words, but I think they're making a mistake by not trading back with us.
I,
And I'm
I
not
feel the
just
exact
saying that.
opposite. I am a huge Travis Hunter believer for a lot of reasons. We don't have to get into it. We can get into
Sure,
that another time.
sure,
But I'm a huge Travis Hunter believer. I think he's going to exceed expectations. But
sure.
that's just me.
I'll, I think he can definitely. No.
We're on the script. We're talking about
Anyway,
players.
my thoughts on the pick. I heard noise about Loveland going to the Bears that we were interested. I wasn't sure how much I believed that. I really thought we were, if we were going to go with tight end, it was Tyler Warren. But um, I mean, listen, I mean, I'm a Cole Kmet guy. I don't think he's out of the offense, and frankly, I don't even believe he's tight end too. I think Colston
Right.
Loveland is going to be tight end too for at least for this year.
Agreed.
Um, but Cole Kmet is a much more physical back, and Colston Loveland is kind of a better route runner. I think they can exist interchangeably, or not interchangeably, but they can mutually exist, being able to like kind of support each other and to be used as both weapons instead of like one over the other. Um,
Right.
and
I
I
totally
feel like
agree.
that's kind of how I feel with a lot of the receiving threats on this team is just like I feel like the concept of I also just kind of feel like the concept of tight end one or wide receiver one is kind of going to be not as prominent with this team. I mean, like look at David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I mean, if you had to choose Jahmyr Gibbs as running back one, but they both, because I mean, he got most touchdowns, he got the most yards, but they both had a very specific role that they did, and they were both like weapons that wouldn't be as strong without the other. And I feel like if we can kind of have that with our receiving room, I think we're going to be in a really good spot. And you know, I'm at the end of the day, a lot of this is just going to be coming down to I trust the coaching staff. I trust Ben Johnson,
Right.
especially with these receiving guys, the Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. Um, so I trust in them to make the right pick on that. So I'm
Right.
excited
And
for
he wouldn't
Colston, and
exactly.
yeah,
He wouldn't Ben Johnson wouldn't make this pick if he didn't have a plan for him. So I'm excited to see what that plan is, how they'll use him, especially as like a tight end when we already have one.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he uses them, hopefully to great success. He's done that in the past. And then yeah, so let's get on to our second round pick,
hmm
which I thought was exceptional.
I thought it was
Luther Burden.
exceptional too. I was so surprised by it. Um, and I feel like also what's important to note is I feel like the draft didn't kind of fall our way again with this, which is like Judkins and Trayvon Henderson went right before our pick, and I think we were kind of counting on getting one of those two guys at running back. But um, I mean, we ended up with who, in my opinion, is the wide receiver two in the draft at pick
Yep.
number 39, round two from Missouri. The Chicago Bears select wide receiver Luther Burden, the Trey, the Trey.
Yep. Very exciting player. I think he goes to a great spot where he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him because we clearly have our one and two. DJ in his realm. He's going to be, doesn't have to produce immediately, right? He can learn. He's going to be facing weaker uh, defensive backs from the opponent's team. Their best corners are going to go on, obviously, our best guys. So I think it's a great spot for him. He's going to not have a lot of pressure, but still will have a lot of packages and plays drawn up for him. Hopefully, Ben Johnson can get him open. I love this pick. Um, Super excited about it. Yeah, I really love this pick. I'm I think the thing I don't quite understand is maybe not understand, but we're really loading up and going all in on the offense.
Yeah,
First two picks being offense was not what I was expecting at all.
no, it was not. Yeah, I think at number 39, with those players gone, the best player available, hands down, was Luther Burden. I mean,
Agreed.
I don't think it was even close. Um, however, I was so surprised that we went with him. We already have a very clear wide receiver one, and a very clear wide receiver two. Um, so, and then especially after picking a tight end, when we
Right.
got Luther Burden, I was like, I'm excited for this guy. I think he's incredible, but why are we doing this? Um,
Yeah. I I was confused. It feels like are we gonna plan do anything on defense? Or are we just what are we doing? It was confusing and I'm a little worried about our defense now, but if Ben Johnson thinks he can use these guys to good effect, then hey,
yeah, I mean,
like let's do it. If this is who you want to run your offense and build what you built in Detroit, then go for it. Like
yeah, I mean,
no complaints.
listen, I was pushing all off season. Let's hire Ben Johnson. Let's hire Ben Johnson. Um, he's the offense guy. He's offense first. We don't care about defense. We've had defense first mentality for way too long, and our first two picks are offense guys. Um, I don't really know what I was thinking other than like I'm like looking back. I'm like, are you supposed to be surprised? I mean, this is what you wanted,
Right.
right? I mean, I wanted more offense. Why was I hoping for a defense guy? And I mean, I'm not saying we should just ignore the defense, but
Right.
I think it's going to be really exciting. I think there's I mean, he was absolutely the strongest wide receiver available. I mean, I think he's better than
Right.
pick number 23, Matthew Golden,
Mhm.
who I also like, but I think he was wide receiver 3 in the draft. Which, I mean, hey, don't worry. Green Bay Packers love stocking up on their wide receiver threes. You know that.
Oh yeah. They got 8 decent wide receivers on their team,
yeah, yeah,
and they added 2 more in the draft.
yeah. No, I mean, the more I think about it, the more excited I get. But I mean, at the time, like you kind of have to like think, are we trying to spend too much on like luxury picks? But um, I mean, these two picks are very BPA picks, very best player available
Right.
picks. Um, and I don't know if I can hate that strategy. I don't know if I. So I mean, I feel up until now it's been a pretty good draft. Um,
Yeah. And it's just how are they gonna be used? I imagine they were drafted with this is how we're gonna use them in the offense. So it'll be exciting to see how they get used. But I
yeah,
agree. I think those were 2 great picks to start the draft.
yeah. And
2
now
great exciting players.
here's where I started getting very annoyed. It's not at pick 56, which is where we actually picked. It's at pick number 41. I was not happy with us trading down, and I don't really think we ended up getting too much out of it. I mean, um, we kind of traded back with the Bills a few times that ended up with um, just a next year fourth, I think,
Mhm.
and kind of swapped some picks around. But I mean, I feel like there were some incredible players at 41 who we could have taken, and then we had to wait until 56 to pick. Um, but I mean, at 56, we did select from Boston College the offensive tackle, behemoth 6'8" of a man, Ozzy Trapilo. Sam, what are your thoughts on Goliath?
Yeah. I think it's a high upside pick. Obviously, when you pick someone like that, going offense again, I don't know. Seems like we're totally ignoring the defense.
Hmm.
But if if this is who Ben Johnson wants on his offense, that's cool with me. I don't think there's a ton of pressure on a later second round pick. Um, kind of, he's not going to be a starter, right? But hopefully he can develop, be someone eventually. I don't know. I was kind of meh on this pick.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was not on my radar at all. Um, Obviously, he was like, a top 10 offensive tackle for the
Mhm.
draft, but with our pick slots, we were not anywhere close to kind of being projected to pick around him. So he
Right.
wasn't really on my radar at all. Um,
Oh.
I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about when I'm saying, or when I said earlier that we were trying to build for sustained success. Because I mean,
Right.
this guy's not going to be a year one starter. He's got a lot of um, he's got some holes in his game for sure. And I think like he's definitely a project pick. But I mean, 6'8", like he's played both left tackle and right tackle. Actually, he's played left guard and right guard. I think he's kind of played every position other than center. Um, but
Right.
I think we can develop him well. Um, I don't know. I'm not super happy on this pick. I and at this point, like I'm screaming for Ryan Poles to select a defensive edge who we never
Right.
ended up picking because I mean I thought defensive edge. I know Dio Dengbo was um, a good addition, but other than him, Montez Sweat, um, Austin Booker is had a good rookie season, but I mean you can't like rely on him too heavily.
Mhm.
We defense we do not have a great edge room um, compared to a lot of in the league, and I remember before kind of like the draft, like well before the draft, Ryan Poles was like, yeah, you can never get too many edge rushers. I mean, look at the Eagles, like they just had
Right?
guys and guys like just go in and it clearly helped them win a Super Bowl. And then he didn't really follow that in the draft. And I do think we were getting sniped a lot with kind of the both edge rushers and running backs. But I mean, after pick number 39, when you've been trading back a lot, you can't really use that snipe excuse because you could have just picked them earlier now. Um,
Right. And defensive end is something I thought we were gonna pick. That was one of the top positions of need. I thought we might even go 10, go defensive end, probably in the second round,
yeah.
but we did end up picking a defensive lineman that I'm very excited about.
Yes. I'd agree. He's probably um, one of my favorite picks in the draft for us. And maybe it was just because I was starved for a defensive pick, but I
Right.
when I
Anything
saw
defense.
Shamar Turner, I was so excited. I'm like, finally someone who like because like 10, 39, and 56. I had names in my head who I'm like, please pick these guys, please pick these guys, and none of them got picked. I mean, looking back, like um, I'm happy with the picks we did get, but Shamar Turner was definitely on my radar at 62. Um, and I'm happy that Ryan Poles and I were finally on the same page and he listened to me for once. Um, yeah, but from Texas A&M with pick 62 of the draft, the Chicago Bears select the defensive lineman of Shamar Turner. Sam, what do you think of him?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this pick. We finally went defense. Finally. Um, and this is a player who's very high upside. It's a very Ryan Poles pick. I think he's done a lot of drafting these players who have the high upside, and for whatever reason, they're being overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about this pick. Hopefully, he has very high ceiling. Hopefully, he can reach that. But even if he doesn't, I'm glad we finally did something defense.
Yeah,
Um, and I really like this pick. It's probably of our picks after Luther Burden. It's my favorite pick of the draft. Such high potential. He's going to a good spot where he doesn't have to be a starter. He can be a rotation player. He can learn from Grady Jarrett. Obviously, he plays the same position.
yeah,
I really like this pick.
yeah. And I think it's funny you bring that up. I think he has a lot of similarities to Grady Jarrett in his play style, in his mindset. I mean, I think he's also just a violent player, um, and I can definitely see him like um, even like doing some snaps at edge. I mean, he's got just a very like violent mentality and just um, it's fun watching him play. So he's going to be a really exciting player. He's a player who I feel like we can get like a lot of use out of this season. Um, I'm not
Yep.
sure how much use even like the entire three picks are going to be before him. Ozzy Trapillo is going to be um, a backup probably for this season, and then Luther Burden and Colston Loveland are probably going to be um, behind their respective positions. So like tight end two, wide receiver three.
Right.
Um, not saying they're not great, not saying they're not good picks, but I think Shamar Turner can get like a lot of snaps this season, and we could see him like do a lot. So I'm super excited to see him play. Also, dude, just watching his interviews, like he's such a nice kid.
Right.
He like replies like yes sir, yes ma'am with everything, and that's kind of something that the Bears focus on a lot. I mean, like we saw Mike Green fall to the Ravens at
Mhm.
73 to like was a top 15 talent pick. Um, and I think it's yeah, I think it's it's good and bad, but I mean at the same time, like we're creating a team where like all of the players are very likable. Like, the
Agreed.
Chiefs, they they're gonna win a lot of games, but I mean like how many of their players like have felony charges? I mean, think about that.
Right.
I mean, I think all of the players you can really like get behind without like thinking like, oh, but this guy's kind of a jerk. Um, yeah.
Right. I like all of our players. I think Rome's my favorite as far as like personality.
Oh,
He's always been
he's
super
so
cool.
fun, dude. Um, yeah, but I also kind of want to talk. I mean, like you mentioned, like Shamar Turner. The reason he fell was because he kind of had an injury, stress fracture, I believe, and I think Ozzy Trapillo also might have had something. And then I know Colston Loveland also had something. So I'm not I'm not a huge fan of drafting players whose injury health are kind of in concern, but I think these were kind of all pretty minor, I'd say. So I wouldn't, I'm not going to worry about that too much. But I mean, also talking about bringing it back to Colston Loveland because I do have some thoughts on it a little bit more. I mean,
I,
compared to um, compared to Tyler Warren, um, Tyler Warren had a much more productive season, especially this year. Um, but I mean, the Michigan quarterback, which was I gotta even check his name. It's Davis Warren compared to like Drew Aller, I think. Yeah, Drew Aller, um, who's gonna be like a top 10 pick next year probably. Um, I think Colston Loveland was doing like a lot with a lot less.
mm,
And I think he was kind of the entire piece of the Michigan, whereas Penn State had like a lot of other really good talents that kind of helped carry them as well. Not saying Tyler Warren is bad. I think he's also incredible, but um, I think I think Colston Loveland was, and from what I've heard, like there were a lot of like trade up talks like happening,
I heard this too.
and as soon as Colston Loveland got picked, like those calls stopped happening. I think that was by
Mm,
Ian Rappaport, um, which is really interesting. I mean, I don't think he was going to be viewed as highly as I guess he clearly was. But I mean, I think there's something a lot of the NFL is seeing in him that we might not be privy to as of yet, but I'm really hoping we see it soon. Um, anyway,
Yeah, and that's one of those situations where I think a lot of college football viewers would say that Tyler Warren's better because he was a better college player, but
mhm,
Colson Loveland projects better to the NFL. I think that is one of those scenarios where, oh, Tyler Warren was like the better college player, had more production, but Colson Loveland's abilities and skills project better into the next level.
yeah,
I think that's what that's all about.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to, and I agree with you on that. I think so too. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up real quick since I had some more thoughts on it. But now we are going to move into day three with some players who I don't really know about as much. Um, but I mean,
Right. Unless
overall,
you're like
like,
a super draft nerd, you're not really going to know about the day three players. I
yeah,
don't.
I think there were still some misses. I mean, I think we still traded back like a couple of times. I think on day three, um, and I think our first draft pick from Maryland, Ruben Hippolyte the second, linebacker. Now, if this was a draft for names, I think he has a
Oh
case
yeah.
to go number one overall. However, I had never heard of this guy, um, and that didn't seem to be just a me thing. I know a lot of other people hadn't heard of him either. Um, and he could be like a big stud. They could see something that we're not seeing, and I'm okay with that. But fourth round, like you really couldn't have taken a swing at him later. You really thought he was going to be picked up by another team. I doubt that. Um, but I mean, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
Again, it's one of those things. I'm mainly looking at the positions we're taking
Yeah.
when it comes to the late round picks because I don't know these guys. I'm not a huge college football fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge draft nerd.
Hmm.
I think linebacker is a good position where we're going to need more of those. Um, if he can develop to be a high end player, that's kind of just you're not going to get studs in the late rounds typically, but if he can develop to be that, that'll be awesome. I like that. Again, we're picking defense.
Hmm.
It's a position we're going to need in the future. We don't need linebackers right now. We need them in the future. So if he can, by his second, third year, be a starter, a decent level player, we're going to need linebackers then.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't hate the player. I think he could be a good player, but I hate the fact that we picked him at that position, especially since there were a lot of running backs still on the board who I really wanted, and a lot of defensive edges I still really wanted. Um, I think we missed out on some defensive edges, um, and on running backs. I mean, although we did pick one in round 7, who I have some thoughts on, but anyway, I, from Texas, San Antonio, the defensive back, Za Frazier. Um, again, I don't know too much on this guy, but he's 6'3", and he ran, I think, a 4.38, which those are good measurables. I think he had 6 interceptions this season, so um, that's all I know on him. But I think those are
Right.
good stats for a cornerback. Um,
Yeah.
so that's my
They're
thoughts.
probably just they see him as a project player. He has all those measurables, didn't have the production or the technique yet.
Yeah,
They feel like if they can develop him, he can be a high end player. But again, it's a what a fifth round pick.
yeah,
It doesn't work out. Oh well, most fifth round picks don't. But he's a high upside player. I like that we're doing that.
hmm,
Picking those high upside players.
yeah.
Um, he's not going to be a starter at all.
No, no. There's
Um,
probably some special teams though. Um, but hey, oh, also, I think he can move to safety. I think he
yep.
has the build and the qualities. I think he would be good at safety, and I think a lot of other people mentioned that too. Our next pick, from Michigan State, Luke Newman, also offensive lineman. Um, I don't know much about him, but I have a friend who's from MSU who also doesn't know much about him, but is excited he's there. Um,
Right. I like that we're targeting offensive linemen late.
yeah,
There's a lot of late round pick offensive linemen who work out.
yeah,
If he does, great. If not, again, these late round picks are really flyers. If they are ever a decent starter, it's huge value, and that's a great pick. Even if he's a consistent backup, I would be very happy with that. If
yeah,
he's someone who can plug and play ever, then it's a home run,
yeah,
right? Because you're not expecting to ever get high value out of these picks, but if he can, develop and eventually be something, even just a good backup, offensive line is going to get hurt. So I like that we're targeting that late. You always want to have depth at that position, especially because
yeah,
you never want to be in a spot where your starter goes down and then your offensive line sucks
yeah,
because it's going to happen. Those guys get hurt. They're so big, they take so many hits. You always want to have good backups. So I like that we're targeting that late. I think that's a great position to have a bunch of depth at.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, like with that kind of a pick, like getting an offensive guard is a good is a good choice. And like you said, like there's a lot of late round offensive linemen who do work out. So I think that's a good position to target. Anyway, with the final pick from Rutgers, running back number 233 or pick number 233, the Chicago Bears select Kyle Monungai. And I ain't gonna lie, I had no idea who he was before we drafted him, but I have been watching a lot of his highlights, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's not hard to get hyped for a running back because like every running back is gonna have highlights. But I mean, this dude runs like he's like trying to kill somebody. He's so fun to watch. And listen to this. Listen to this. 669 career carries as in his college career, zero fumbles. So he's a guy where if Doug Kramer is out, if Doug Kramer is feeling sick, you have somebody else to run the ball at the 1 yard line who won't fumble. So
I love it.
he's a guy. I mean, I'm excited about him. He could very well not work out. He's a 7th round pick, but I mean, this was a very deep running back class, and I could see him like ending up being a dog. I mean, this could just be cope, but I mean, I think I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, running back is a position where a lot of late round guys can be great, um, can ascend. We've seen that a lot with the Bears. Jordan Howard, David Montgomery, they're both later round picks. Not this late, obviously, but those are, two running backs we've had that have been great. And it's another position where you always want to have depth. You always want to have fresh legs. And I'm glad we drafted a running back because that's what I wanted initially in the first round with Genti.
Yes.
So at least we got one. It was with our last pick at the end of the draft. Will he be anything? Again, who knows? It's a 7th round pick. Like, if he has 2 touchdowns in his NFL career, that's a success,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, listen, dude. There are some players who like being real for a second. I'm gonna disregard this as soon as I say it though. There are some players who I just like having on the team because they're fun as hell to watch in training camp and in like the preseason games. Like there this could be one of those guys that like absolutely kills the Chiefs in like a preseason match. Um who's just one of those stars. I mean, that could very well be it, but Ian Wheeler was it that last year.
Yep.
And hey, he's still on the team. He's still on the team. We'll have to see where that ends up, but I mean, I'm disappointed we waited until this long to pick a running back. It sounds like at this point, like Ryan Poles was just like, "Here you go, guys. Fine. I know you're asking for it, but um,
Right.
I'm glad we did end up getting one.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say it's a position of need,
It is a
but
position
it's a
of need.
position we could upgrade.
Yeah,
DeAndre Swift, I think, is good, but not great.
yeah. And there
Um,
are some talks about another free agent signing or a trade. Brees Hall. Um, is that his name? I feel like I'm not getting.
no,
That's
Brees Hall is not going to get traded. He's the
Brees Hall.
Jets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I heard that certain Brees Hall rumors. But
That's
Kenneth
good.
Grant is a possibility, and also I heard Nick Chubb free agent signing could be a possibility. Um, that could happen very soon. I mean, I heard rumors are heating up with that, but I mean, we'll have to see where that could just all be smoke. Um,
Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb is one of those players where every team wants him. He's high upside. He's probably going to be cheap because of the injuries.
yeah,
And if he can stay healthy, he's a game changing player. And if he doesn't, well, we're still going to be good.
yeah. I mean, the only thing is, like, I don't want to talk about this too much since it hasn't
Okay, it hasn't
happened, but
happened.
even last year after he did come back from injury, he wasn't that good. Um, being straight up, like, I mean, he'd probably admit that too. Like, he did not have a great season even when he was like playing. Um, but I mean, hey, he'd be cheap. Maybe it'll happen. But with that, that was the Chicago Bears 2025 draft. Sam, what would you grade the draft overall?
I would say draft, I would put at a B, maybe like a B plus, A minus area.
Hmm,
Obviously, we didn't have a super high pick. We traded back a lot, which I think
yeah,
can work. Um, Nothing really wowed me. We're going to have to see how these players, especially the top two, fit in the offense.
yeah.
But I think overall, it was good, not great, but I don't think we were ever going to have a great draft this year. Um, I like it. I don't love it, but I could see if Colson Loveland is really, really good, that can change our offense, that can change our team. Will he be that? We don't really know. But if you hit on even one of those later round guys, then it
Hmm.
turns it into an excellent draft. I don't think we did anything too horrible, um, but a little worried about the defense, especially in the future. Um, I would say B plus.
Okay. I'm gonna be a
That'd be my
little
pick.
bit more negative. I'm gonna actually say B minus. And I think it has potential to be a very high graded draft. I mean, a lot of these picks are not going to pan out, or not show immediate turns, um, and show their value immediately. But I mean, I think if we can develop a lot of these guys, there are several of them that I could see developing into star players. Um,
Right.
Now, whether that happens is yet to see, and I feel like immediately, I mean, there were some good picks, there were some bad picks, but I'd say overall right now it's a B minus.
Yep, I would agree. Because obviously, with the draft, you never know who's going to turn out, who's going to be good, who's going to be bad.
Hmm.
There's busts in every round, and there's stars in every round.
Yeah,
But just looking at the positions, these are not the positions I would have said we needed to go after.
absolutely not. Yeah,
But if this is the way that they think, especially Ben Johnson thinks that he'll bring success to Caleb Williams and
yeah,
Loveland and Burden are going to be like, these are going to be your guys. They're going to be super successful in my offense. Then that's really all that matters is if those two guys are great, then it's a great draft. And then
sure.
if you hit on one of these later round guys, maybe uh, Turner especially, if he can be really good, he can be an average starter. Then like, great, we got someone. But overall, the positions aren't what I would have wanted to pick.
Yeah, and that's where mainly my B minus is coming from.
Right. Because as far as whether they're going to be good players, you don't really know. It's tough to put that grade, but we didn't pick positions I think I would have wanted us to pick. But it's not horrible. It's not a disaster. I'm excited to see these guys play. Of course, draft is super exciting time. Um, but we'll see. I'm a little worried about the defense now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be better than last year, especially if we can get Brisker and Gordon healthy.
Mm.
And we didn't have a lot of players leave, so I mean, I don't think the defense is going to regress. I think there's not a whole lot of place to go other than up with the defense. So I don't know. I'm excited, and overall, I'd give the Bears offseason an A or an A plus. I mean, I thought it was great, and I mean, raise the banners. I think we won the offseason again.
Right. I do think our free agency allowed us to be more creative in our draft.
Yes, I
Because if
did too.
we didn't sign these offensive linemen, then it's like we have to draft them, and
Yeah.
then that's so boring. We're not picking the best player. We have no freedom in who we can pick. So I think that made our draft better almost
Mm,
because we didn't draft for positions of need.
sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree, but anyway, that is our Bears off-season review. We might have another pod coming soon with a schedule prediction once that drops in May sometime. But um, Sam, thank you for doing this, man. It was great doing this pod, and hopefully next year we are a lot more consistent with this pod. I mean, it was great doing it, but well, I know we kind of dropped off a little bit at the end.
And not
Um,
much to talk about, but yeah, I love doing this pod. Love talking about the Bears. Super excited. And yeah, definitely want to do one after the schedule release.
sure,
Go over our opponents, all that kind of stuff.
sure. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and
Bear down.
bear down. Hell yeah.